Thanks everybody for coming to this LAC Best Practices Instructional Workshop. For those of you, I think most everybody knows me, but I'm Tanya Kinsella, and I oversee the Language and Cross Curriculum program here at UNC. My degree is actually, I have a PhD in German literature from UNC. So I've actually been to graduate school here, and I know some of what it's like to be a grad student and be stuck in two buildings on campus. Probably at the most, maybe where you teach, maybe a third one. I've been overseeing the LAC program for 8 years now, I think. So I just thought first we could go around, just give a very brief introduction, your name, your department, and your language proficiency. So if it's not completely evident, we can start with our presenters.
Well, my name is Carlos Abreu Mendoza. I'm in the Roman languages department, that's Spanish, and I'm leaving next year. That's all I'll be talking about, job interviews today.
And I'm Sarah Apffel, and I'm from Romance Languages, and I've been teaching the Environment and Society LAC recitation section in Spanish.
I'm Julie Alt. I'm in the History department, and my proficiency is in German.
And I'm Alejandra. I'm in the Romance Languages department in Spanish.
I'm Elizabeth. I'm also in the Romance Languages department, and I'm in Italian.
And you're taking my course.
And I'm taking your course.
Which you need to love.
Which is wonderful, and I love it.
Okay, thank you.
My name is Dong Su Bang, and I'm from Asian Studies. I teach Korean to
Great. Okay, so today we have just two presenters, and the first one, as she already mentioned, is Sarah Apffel. She studies Spanish Renaissance theater and medical discourse, and both this current semester and the previous semester she was teaching the Spanish LAC recitation for an environmental studies course. And today she's going to be talking about extending the discussion beyond the classroom using VoiceThread in LAC.
Yes. Thank you very much. So first, before I begin, I have to, with full disclosure, reveal that this was Grant Gerhardt's baby that he actually came up with, and I've sort of just continued to use it and sort of tweak it depending on the class. So you can thank him for this idea, this assignment idea with the ENST 201 course. So the way that I have worked VoiceThread into my LAC course is through what we've called a Noticia Actual assignment. So it's a current event assignment where each recitation section, a student or a pair of students, depending on the size of the class, is assigned a class period. And then that individual or pair has to find a current event article, which I'll talk about in a little bit, and then they post it by 5 p.m. 1 week before their assigned class period. So the students then will have the whole week to read it. So they post the link to the article on VoiceThread, and then they also post a video comment where they introduce the article and they pose some points for thought or relevant questions for the students in the class to think about. Then the other students have the whole week to read the article and also post a video or voice comment by 5 p.m. the day before that class period, so that then at least the presenters have usually 24 hours to go into VoiceThread, see what the other students have posted, and then incorporate that into their discussion leadership. And so what the leader or leaders do is they read the comments and they then sort of tailor their 5 or 10 minute discussion to what the other students have posted that they thought was interesting, or questions they brought up, or things like that. So the only requirements for the selection of the current event, in my case, it would be obviously an authentic Spanish language source. So I encourage them not to find an article just from like CNN in Espanol or like a translation, but from an actual Spanish language source. I usually ask that it is a recent article so that it's been published within the last 2 weeks. And then I have given them free rein that they can choose anything that's relevant to the course topics. However, it's funny, they tend to choose whatever we are sort of reading about that week, just on their own. So that kind of works out well. For me, the assignment is worth 5 recitation points out of 20. And so I give 2.5 points to their actual selection and posting and leadership, and then 2.5 points on whether they participate weekly. So I just check it right before every recitation section and see who posted. You get email notifications, who's posted when. And so I really just take off if they've posted late or not at all, or if, there's some evidence that they weren't very thorough in what they did. I don't know if any of you have used VoiceThread before, but it's really simple. You just go to voicethread.unc.edu and you create an account. And then you create a course group. So like I just named my group ENST 201 LAC Spring 2014. And then you can send invitations to your students, or they can send you their email and you just add them manually. So I usually have them post a first video before we start the current event assignment, where they just introduce themselves, talk about their hobbies, whatever, just so they get practice with using the technology and posting a video. It usually helps work out any kinks also with video or voice. And so then I wanted to show you like what a good example was, or a pretty good example from my fall class. So let's see if I can get this link to work. If not, I can look it up. So this article came from a Colombian newspaper about a spill in a bay near Cartagena in Colombia. It's actually a pretty short article. I probably would have preferred it to be about twice as long as that, but it doesn't have to be a lot longer than that because these are usually newspaper articles or blog articles. Also, a lot of the vocabulary tends to be very specialized, and so the students typically have to spend a lot of time looking things up. So I don't like to, have them burdened too much. So they would have read this article. Again, it's pretty brief. And then, sorry, I'm gonna try to figure out where I was gonna try to go to my VoiceThread. Oh gosh, sorry, I'm not using this computer.
The Mac person.
Yeah.
Here, I'll just go up here. I'll go to VoiceThread. I'll do this.
Which is nice because it shows how you get
True, yeah, you can see how you get in. And you will just sign in with your onion like usual. And so it sort of skips through the initial page usually. And so then it takes you here. So here's my account. And here, I want to go to My Voice. That's what I want to go to. So here you can see my two groups. This is my fall one and my spring one. And then I also, at the beginning of the semester, usually post a little intro video so they can see what it's supposed to look like. So this was my fall class. And so I just kind of wanted to show you what a decent one looked like. So this is about that same article. And so here in the middle is where the student who was in charge presents the article a little bit. What she's going to do is ask them to compare what they've read in the article to a video they had to see for the main course lecture, which I thought was a really great connection to make. And then this is where all of the students made their voice or video comments that she would then read through before she led the discussion. So you can just kind of see what it looks like. So she kind of gives an overview of what it's about.
Los autoridades piensan que el derrame de hidrocarburos fue causado desde la empresa Carmen Internacional. Todavía es un desastre medioambiental y el artículo dice que es el peor desastre ambiental causado por una empresa de esta región en los últimos años. Y también ya ha afectado muchos animales y cultivos. Pienso que este artículo relaciona con la película Crude Impact que hemos visto en la clase. La película muestra un derrame en Ecuador que afectaba el medio ambiente mucho también. ¿Cuáles son algunos similares con este derrame y otras reacciones tuyas o conexiones con tu aplicación en la clase?
And so she also just asks for like general reactions or comments. And so then some of them, so at the beginning, everyone posted video comments. As the semester went on, some of them gave up on the video and just posted voice, but I got to a point where I thought their participation was more important than whether they put themselves on video or not. So anyway, it worked really well. I had no complaints about the activity, and it usually provided pretty good, let's see, discussion in class. Sorry, this is so disjointed. Okay. I just kind of to conclude, some of the benefits I found from this activity are that it gets the students reading really recent, authentic texts, and also the newspaper articles, even though they sometimes do have specialized vocab, it's usually a manageable length and amount. It relates the course themes to the real world, which the students tend to love. And it also helps them connect with their own interests because they can choose whatever article they'd like. So if there's a particular part of the course they're really interested in, then they can go for that. It also kind of tailors the in-class discussion to class interests because the presenters are taking away what the students were most interested in about the article or that aspect of the course and discussing specifically that in class. It encourages language and conversation practice outside the classroom, which as we all know is difficult to do. It also creates a safe space for them to practice language, and this has especially been good for some of the students that weren't as strong and didn't feel as comfortable with spontaneous language production, and so they could re-record the video as many times as they wanted, or they could sort of take notes and read off of those, so I thought that it was helpful for them. And I feel like it's a really good bang for your buck because you can spend only 5 to 10 minutes of recitation having this little discussion, but outside of class, they've probably already done another 30 to 45 with the reading or picking the article or posting their comments. So that's pretty much all I have. I'm happy to answer questions or anything if anyone has any. Okay. I will hand it to Carlos then.
What we can do, like at the end, we can ask.
Oh yeah, sure. Here, do you want to trade me?
Just for Bob, no, so you can see.
Yeah. So you can be in the
Do you
spotlight.
have a presentation or just talk?
No, he's just gonna talk. I didn't make a PowerPoint. I wasn't.
That's fine. You've had some.
I just do so many every day for my classes that when I don't have to. So what I did to prepare for these presentations, I went to Google. I normally do this for my class, and I put job market and the Chronicle. The Chronicle of Higher Education is where you get like news and articles about what's going on. So the first one that popped up in the internet was this article about a woman who got a PhD in medieval history from UC California, and it was a very hard story about disappointment and frustration. It has a happy ending, In the end, she got a job, but it was after applying to 100 openings, and the best job she had at the moment was a community college adjunct job that paid like $900, and she was on food stamps, and like a very, very hard story. In the end, she got a job finally, eventually. And so that kind of story, even though my job hunting wasn't as hard as for this person, it took me a while. It took me a lot of frustration, disappointment to find a job, and I applied for jobs for the past 3 years. This is my third year applying, and I'm currently finishing. I just defended my dissertation, and I'll be graduating in May. And this semester is the second time I'm teaching LAC. I'm doing the Latin American history from independence with John Chasteen, and so when I went to the job market, that's one of the things that I did in my interview was talking about LAC. And let me tell you that I applied for all sorts of jobs. Community college, research one, you name it, visiting positions, lecturers, like all of them. And so the question is, knowing how hard the job market is right now, and from this article and I'm sure from people and talking about this, how can the experience of LAC help you in this process, no? So another thing that I did to prepare was just to go over the ads that I applied to and to see the language that they have and what do universities want these days, And I can only speak about like literature, language, Roman studies, and so what they want you is to teach different languages, direct study abroad programs, teach classes in English, mentor students, provide service, produce research, and normally interdisciplinary research. Anyway, all these that from just hearing about the job market. So I'm just going to read some of the desired qualifications that you find out there. First one, dedication and enthusiasm for language instruction. Expertise in foreign language pedagogy and Latin American culture, especially welcome. Another one, we seek faculty who can teach a variety of language, culture, and lit courses, which might include specialized courses in business, medical Spanish, and other experience with digital language, lab, and technology a plus. Another one, candidacy enhanced by interdisciplinary scholarship and teaching, seeking candidates with strong pedagogical skills, familiarity with computer programs desirable, potential for teaching excellence, a strong interest in interdisciplinary research, distance teaching modes, develop appropriate curricular offerings, supervise and assist student research. And another one, the last one I found, excellence in undergraduate teaching and a willingness to work collaboratively in collaboration are essential. So these are like just 9 or 8 examples of things that they're looking for. And so what I was thinking is, how did LAC help me address these qualifications in an interview? So can you show your interviewers how LAC has prepared you to provide these things that they're looking for? And I don't really have like a system. I don't have like a final answer, but I can tell you 5 or 6 things that I did while I was doing the interviews. So number 1, keep in mind that these people have read hundreds of CVs, hundreds, and CVs are not the most engaging and exciting pieces of literature. They go at them very fast, and most of them are not going to remember a specific part of your CV. So they might not even ask you about LAC in the interview, unless somebody has made a note and they have a specific question. So one of the keys is to find a way to kind of showcase your LAC experience within the interview. So since I read you some of these words before, I read you dedication to language instruction, interdisciplinary scholarship, work in cooperation with other faculty. So one thing that I did was to refer to their language, refer to what they were looking for, and show them how my experience teaching in the Romance language department and my LAC teaching experience address these qualifications. Language across the curriculum, if you teach a recitation, it's all about collaboration. You can say that, You are always talking to the professor of your class, to the other TAs who have the same class that you have, but they're teaching it in English and you're doing it in your language. It also fosters interdisciplinary teaching and scholarship, since you are in constant dialogue with these people. And it's also about instruction and teaching challenging material, because like in my experience, I normally teach the subjunctive, the preterite, and this time I have to teach the Cold War or the conquest or things that are normally not in your normal classroom. So you can say that you have experience teaching these issues and these topics. And it is also a chance to talk about what they're looking for. You name it. And so another approach was for me to mention LAC in different parts of the interview. Interview has different parts, and some of them are very, you can see that they're not engaged. They've done maybe 10 before, so, but you can tell all of those parts if you do a lot. And so another things that I did was, if you happen to have your professor that is doing LAC writing you a recommendation, it's something else you should mention. And that's a way of, I do this for this professor. And so do research about the programs that can potentially have a LAC section. Like one of I got a job in Texas State, so I saw that in this school they have a huge Hispanic population. So in the interview they told me that most of their classes, their students are fluent. And so I mentioned the fact that, you have history, you have poli-science, there are big programs. Do you have this language across the curriculum? Would there be an interest on this? I said, yeah, definitely. And, there's a way of showing them that you have done some research beyond their department and you know how the university, works. And this is very important. If you go to the interview and you want to talk about LAC, bring your stuff, bring your materials, bring your syllabus, bring even the course syllabus, because sometimes, you're explaining what LAC is and they look confused and they don't get it at first, and then if you bring them the syllabus and you just point at things, we'll do it like this. You see on Friday we're reading this text, and so that's a way of showing them, like something concrete, and it normally works. And it also allows them or allows you to kind of think that they might remember you, because they do so many interviews that if they have something different or something to bring home, it's kind of like, oh, well, this was the guy that was talking to me about LAC and talk about this syllabus. And so it's something that I found, because interviews are very repetitive and they're all the same, and so anything that makes you stand out from the rest is great. So I think I have two more. And if they actually ask you about LAC, what I did was, when they asked me, it was for me a great opportunity to tell them that it has been a wonderful program to understand certain things that are very challenging right now, like in Roman studies, for instance. All the challenges that Roman studies departments are facing with the professional classes, like the business Spanish, medical Spanish, and all these crossing disciplines that they want you to do, and you can tell them that this experience have prepared you to do these things. And another thing is the internationalization of the curriculum is something else that is being discussed right now. So all of these things, LAC address them, and it's a wonderful opportunity to tell them about this. And also you mentioned, because LAC, like Sarah was talking about, VoiceThread allows for more innovative teaching. Like the other day I was supposed to teach the Cold War and the invasion of Guatemala during the 60s and 50s, and so they have to contrast the U.S. vision and the Latin American left vision. So what I did is I brought like a huge piece of paper where they could draw the two visions, and it was a way of discussing the two visions, and in a way also kind of writing and drawing and then presenting the drawing to the class. So normally in the interview they ask you, so what is something that you do that is memorable in your classes? So if it's something you've done in LAC, which normally allows for more innovative teaching, then it's an opportunity there too. Well, in summary, teaching LAC, and I speak from experience. My first year I went to the job market and I taught LAC and I didn't get a job. So it doesn't guarantee that you will get a job, but it will sure help you make an impression, and an impression that could potentially lead to a campus interview when there is only 2 more or 3 more besides you, So it is not just another line in your CV, or at least it's up to you to, don't make it be just one more line. Well, thank you. And if you have questions for Sarah and I, we'll be happy to answer them.
So how many interviews did you have at the MLA?
The MLA 4. But it's weird because last year I had 8, and this year I have 4. So
You never know.
it's just, the market is like something unpredictable. And then I had more later. And I have friends now who are still doing campus interviews right now. So it's just...
And did you mention LAC in all those interviews?
In most of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I brought syllabus from different courses, but I always, try to mention it and to give it to them. Because it's, I don't know, after 3 years, I just, this year I had no fear, I had none. I just went all the way. I didn't care, I just, I happen to have this syllabus here. Well, here you go.
Yeah. And I know that has been historically true. I remember Inma
Oh yeah, Emma got
She
it.
never taught a LAC section, but I believe she took the class.
Yeah, she
And
did.
she said, I think she said she talked about it in every single interview also, and that often she was asked about it.
Yeah.
So I know other people have had the same experience.
It can definitely be a way to make you stand out from the crowd of other applications. I mean, when they're looking at piles, it's something that makes you stand out from everybody else. Any questions? Or? It's convenient actually because the last class period we were talking, you didn't make
I
it.
missed it, so this is like perfect.
This is perfect for you. But yeah, we talked about this, and we did an activity where I assigned everyone job descriptions. They had to choose one of them. And then they had to research the institution information about, and I had like 4 or 5 different categories they had to look under, and then they had to write notes about how they would market themselves for this position. Like, why is it that you are the perfect candidate for this, and how can you use your LAC experience? So many of the things that you talked about come up in that. Internationalization, interdisciplinarity.
Yeah, like they use all these words that
Right.
that I mean something I did. I actually normally the first question is why us, like why were you interested in our position? And I always say, oh well, I saw in your ad that you were looking for this, and that. And then throughout my graduate studies, I've done these things that I think don't say I think that qualify me for to be an excellent candidate for this position. And that way, I mean, you show them that you've read their ad, that you thought about it, and that they are not just one of the many interviews that you have. I hope this is the last time I do interviews in a while. For real,
Tanya, do you still have like mixed language sections?
Yeah, it used to be.
We do mixed. How do you mean? Like?
Well, I know it wasn't. I was just thinking about how if you did this VoiceThread thing is something you could use in those sections also. Like you could create even like different threads, and then you could have like an English thread. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Because didn't you say some of the lesser taught languages sometimes like you would have like Swahili with
I haven't here, but at
Something
other
else.
institutions there
Okay.
are some that will group.
that group smaller?
So there's
languages together?
sometimes different. I know Binghamton University does this when their program that they call LAC, language cross curriculum. They will group together languages where they can't form a whole class
Right.
into one language where it's taught in English, but the students are doing all the readings in the language. And they can do some assignments using the language, but yes, then they could contribute to a discussion. That would be really interesting.
Like you could
because-
group the, if there was 2 Swahili speakers, they could have their own thread.
Mhm.
As just a way, if you can't get the language, practice in the recitation.
Right.
Yeah. Just an idea.
Yeah. That would be really cool. Anything else? All right. I have some handouts. I am right now looking for instructors for the fall semester, and there's a list of the open positions and then descriptions on how to apply and the eligibility. There's a flyer for the next workshop, which is Intro to LAC, sort of a hands-on teaching workshop. That's on the 30th. And then there's also information about some of our other pedagogy opportunities in addition to the workshops. So the course that I teach, which is every spring semester, and the graduate certificate in LAC instruction, which requires 3 graduate courses. So it's my course plus a course on foreign language teaching methods, and then a course on teaching some other discipline outside languages and literatures. So that's it. All right, we had a short session today. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for having us.
You were here for
Yeah,
that
it was-
session. Sorry, I'm so.